This video explains how to run a crosstab, which you remember from class is our test where we explore two nominal or categorical variables and we compare them with each other to see if there's a relationship between the two of them and the different groups within those variables. So let me jump over into SPSS and show you how that process works. I will do first an example from our Question Pro survey that we ran, and the example that I'd like to test out is we've talked a lot about hours studying and the relationship with the GPA, so let's see if there is any relationship. We have a small sample size, so we'll run one in this data set just to see if it works. The sample size is a bit small though, and then I'll jump over and do a movie theater data set as an example as well. So in order to run a crosstab, we go to Analyze, we select Descriptive Statistics, and then you'll see the tool that we need, which is Crosstabs. So it's Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. Once we select that, the dialog box opens up for SPSS, and we see, let me get rid of these, I just ran a different crosstab a few minutes ago. But what we see here is the typical dialog box where we select the variables. It really doesn't matter which one we put in the row or the column as long as we get both variables over there. So let's first focus on hours studying. Hours per week studying, and then we will connect that with the GPA. Now remember that when we run a crosstab, we also need to make sure that we click on the statistics button and make sure that the chi-square button has been selected. In addition, we click on cells and we make sure that row and column percentages have been selected as well. Everything looks good. I've run a few crosstabs, so those were already selected on mine. Once I say OK or continue to each of those things, then I say OK, and let's examine the output. This is the output that we get from our crosstab where we explored the GPA categories you see across here and the hours per week studying down the column here. First of all, as you remember, we look at the Pearson chi-square significance level right here. This is our p-value, Pearson chi-square. We go over to the sig column, p-value of 0.059, and as you know, since that's below 0.10, that means we've got a significant finding here, so that's good news. We then need to, as we talked about in class, look for the underlying pattern up here in this crosstab table. So the first thing we do, remember, is we look to see what the patterns are. First of all, you'll notice that there's quite a small number of people that have completed the survey. Overall, there were 50 respondents, and that's okay. I like to start here at the top, this first row, and we look to see the people who've only studied 5 hours or less per week. You see there's only 12 of them, and they're right here in the middle. 7 have between a 2 and a 2.75 GPA, and there's 5 people from 2.76 up to 3.5. Let's jump down to the next row, a little bit more studying, 6 to 12 hours a week. You see we still have a good sized group here with 5 in this group. We have more people here, and then a few people in the 3.6 or higher category, and there were 23 people total that study this amount. The next higher level, 13 to 19 hours per week. We have one person down here in the 1.99 or below. Pretty even spread, but we get a few more people over here at the 3.6 or higher. The interesting thing to note here is that there are only 12 people in this row, and 8 of them are over here in this category, and even 2, about 17% are in the 3.66 or higher. We get higher levels of studying here, 20 to 26 hours per week. We have none down in these two categories. There's only 2 people that fall into this group, but both of them are here in the 2.76 or 3.6 and higher ranges. And then the biggest amount of studying per week, 27 hours or more, only 1 person, and that 1 person is over here in this 3.6 or higher category. So to me, it seems like there does seem to be this pattern of more hours studying, putting you over into these higher GPA categories. Now keep in mind these are very small numbers, and so we see only 3 people down here in this group, but they all are down here at the higher end of the GPA levels. And so we can look the other direction as well. People that have low GPAs, there's only 1 person here, and they study about this much. People in the 2.0 to 2.75 range, there are 15 of them, and notice that 12 of them are here at the lowest levels of hour studying, and then the 3 here 13 to 19, so there tends to be that pattern of lower GPA, lower hours per week studying. Likewise, in the 2.76 to 3.5, we see a little bit of a spread, and then here the 3.6 or higher, most of the people are up at the top end of the number of hours studying. So that tends to be the pattern. You'll notice that with crosstabs, the explanation is just walking through the data to see what the pattern might be. So it takes a little bit of understanding and studying to explore that. What I'd like to do now is jump over to the movie theater data, so you have an example on the video where you can see follow along and run these things yourself just to test out to make sure you're doing it correctly. Let's first off look at the ethnic groups. These were the two examples we did in class. So let's do Analyze Descriptive Statistics Crosstabs. And let's look at the attending a movie in the past year, which is the first question. And let's explore that by ethnicity to see if ethnic groups have different levels of attending or likelihoods of attending a movie within the past year. We need to click the chi-square button. And we need to make sure that row and column percentages are selected. And then let's check it out. First thing we look for always, Pearson chi-square p-value, which is over here at the significance level, 0.170. That tells us right away there is no significant difference or pattern with the ethnic groups and attendance of a movie within the past year. So we don't really need to dive into the data here in our crosstab table to explore what's happening. We learn right away that it's a non-significant p-value. We don't need to waste our time studying it. Let's run another one. Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Crosstabs. Let's look at the attending a movie in the past year, but not look at ethnic groups. Oops. Let's now look at grade level. And as you remember, this is one we did in class, and we did find a significant pattern here. Pearson chi-square, the p-value for the significance level, 0.000, highly statistically significant. And we need to examine and explore what's happening with the pattern and what seems to be going on. And remember, as we talked about in class, people that have not been to a movie in the past year, there's no freshmen, only 4 sophomores, and we have 15 juniors, 17 seniors, and 15 graduate students. So a tendency for these folks to be in the higher grade levels. For people that have been to a movie in the past year, it looks like there's pretty even spread across all of them, a big bubble here in the middle at juniors and seniors. We have a reasonable size, 10% of the grad students have been to a movie in the past year, but we have about 33 or a third of the subjects are either freshmen or sophomores. So it tends to be much more evenly spread, whereas for the no group, it's all heavily positioned up here at the top ends of the grade level. So that tends to be the pattern. You could talk a little bit about that and explain that the pattern that you see. And that's the point with crosstabs, is we look for a statistically significant finding, and then we explore a little bit about the pattern or the relationship and talk about the different groupings and what it might mean based on the data that we're using. So that's how to run a crosstab and how we interpret it.